Good morning. It is May 2024, and we're talking with Matt Dupuis, Jack Hamilton, and James Foulds, and myself, just about the fishing festival. Let's get it right. Nipigon Fall Fishing Festival that first started out as the Nipigon Legion Fall Fishing Festival, and it evolved over all those years. 1965, I have the records of when the first one started, and people like Rose Skillen and Harold Lumsden, Jim McCullough Sr., they all worked at the liquor store, and that's where they got talking about the fishing festival idea, and then took it to the Legion meeting, and other people got on board with it. So in those first few people, there was, looking back, I'm looking at Stan Gordon, Ike Much, Les Clark, Bill McCollum, Jerry Brennan, Don Stevens, Joe Stocco, Lauren Oliver. So it's a long time ago, and some people will not even know those names. Yeah. But the fishing festival over the years had to keep changing because just like today, we hadn't got the volunteers, and the people got burnt out, I think, every year doing the fishing festival. So we'd like to just talk about some of those times and how it evolves into today. And we were just commenting about one of the changes, and I was just saying, because when I look at old pictures and I see, 60 fish hung up on boards, on nails, then put in ice at night. That was Max Martin and Dave Banny. Pack it in ice at night, put it away, bring it out, put it up again, and people flocked to the arena just to see those fish. Yeah. And now, Matt, how do you do it today?
Well, over the past few years, we've only had a one-day salmon derby. And mainly the reason being what you said is lack of volunteers, and the regulations have changed a lot. I mean, saying about hanging fish up for days, we can't get away with that anymore. And so, I mean, we're looking at bringing in more species and maybe going to 2 one-day derbies. But right now, for the past 3-4 years maybe, I think we ran the one-day salmon derby. Mm-hmm. So it starts in the morning. You can fish the Nipigon River. Everyone comes into the curling club to weigh in their fish. And it's the heaviest fish wins the first place prize, and then second, third pick of prizes. It's been growing. The numbers have been growing. We ended up, I believe, with, I think it was around 90 people registered last year. It seemed like every year it picked up 10 more people. Right. So, which is good. And but there has been a large cry of our demand to bring back more species.
Right.
Yeah. Salmon fishing, it's all in the river. It's you have to be somewhat of an experienced boat operator to manage in that heavy current.
Right.
So there's a lot of people that want to bring back the more fish. Maybe it's lake trout, pike, but also Jack's been running the Huck Fin Derby, the one day for the kids.
Right.
That's been going every year. The only year that we lost was 2020 due to COVID.
Right. So the interesting part for me is that years ago too, you had paper up everywhere with all the names on. Now, how do you record it?
For the top fish, like the weights?
All of them. You do it all by computer.
It's all by computer. It's all cast up on the TV screens. Everything's done. There's no manual entry whatsoever.
Right.
So there's no physical tickets even. Everything's done via computer.
I forgot about
that. So it's all done, and then actually what happens when it comes to luck of the draw, we do fish entered. So if we've got 40 people that enter fish that didn't come first, second, third, those people go up on a wheel that's also on the TV screen, and it's like the Price is Right, where they spin the wheel and it stops on someone's name.
Right.
So the old school days, like I remember of, filling out a pink one for salmon, the common drum, those different ones.
Yes, right.
Yeah, like with having the big kind of like ballot boxes where you put them in. Yeah,
But that comes from the technical changes.
Yes.
I know, but it's funny though. Like out of it, I mean, of running a lot of different events, like with whether it's a bingo or something like that. The idea of still someone picking your actual manual ticket and reading it out, I find it a little bit more exhilarating than
the weight.
Than a wheel just stopping on your name. Yeah. So it'd be nice to kind of bring back somewhat of the old tradition, but integrate it with the new technology.
And in those early days, Bill Locker would be seen at the arena right until 1 minute before weigh-in, still selling a ticket to somebody who brought a fish in, because you didn't have to buy
Right.
a ticket in advance. It could be bought right to the very last day.
Yeah.
And so that's so many changes that way. So but that's technology now, as
Yeah.
you say, and people can buy their ticket and live somewhere else. Remember, before you had to have ticket outlets all over northwestern Ontario because people wanted to
Yeah.
buy the tickets.
There was a lot of people that have entered the Derby since I started running the one-day salmon Derby that I never met. They'd phone, text, and send their money,
Right.
and fill everything out. And if they didn't catch a fish, they wouldn't come.
Right,
So I mean, there's a lot of people like I'd look on the list. And I wouldn't be able to pick them out of a crowd,
right.
which is nice because
Right,
you get
right.
you get the entry. So
So the fishing festival is really, it always was about fishing because Nipigon is one of the fishing centers.
It's a big part of
Yes.
the festival itself, and it draws people to the community. And I think if you did a format change in the name, it may work for you, but I think you always stick with tradition. So
Right.
you should have some type of fishing going on
Right.
there. Like when we took over in 1996, the different organizations from the Legion, because like everybody, they grow tired. They're running out of ideas, they're running out of volunteers, and how do you initiate something
Right.
and get a new mode? So, like on our format, like I'll just go a little bit into
Yeah.
where we came in 1996. The Legion got tired, and the organizations that got involved were the curling club, the snowmobile club at that time, back when we had snow, and and the Outs Hall, and the Nipigon Hospital. Those were the four major players. And it's funny how each one of those organizations came to a group meeting, because my involvement came through the curling club, and Larry O'Neill was more involved in the Fall Fishing Festival. Even though we were all involved in the festival before 1996 with the Legion, in some capacity we weren't organizers or chairs or co-chairs or anything like that. So we met, like my tanker, because of a curling club was very active in 1996 in those years, and we had quite a few members, and we'd sit around and have a beer and we'd talk about those things. So he brought it that we should get involved in the curling club, and we can make some money at it and then support
Right.
the club and so on. So
Because when you even look at my list of names, you know very well, small town, every one of these people on this list have got 3 hats.
Oh,
So
yes.
likely half of them were curlers and half of them were snowmobilers. So
Yeah.
that evolves
And-
because of them.
and that was
They
the-
brought their.
and that was the
their-
involvement. So like our first chair was actually Larry O'Neill and Ann McEwen. So Larry, the curling club, Ann McEwen came through the snowmobile club. They were the first co-chairs. And then after that was Paul Ertl and then myself. And it's funny, we were all involved in the festival.
Right.
I may not have been chair, I might have been the fish derby representative, getting prizes or whatever, but we would change hats. You be chair this year, and I'll be chair. And then from that, our treasurers, to start off with, Alfred Dampier came through the curling club. Jim Uraki for years came through the curling club, and at Marshall Rudd. That was my time period, like up to Marshall Rudd left about the same time that I did, about 2016 in that neighborhood. But the fish derby itself, when we took that on, we went to the luck of a draw, and the common drum. So you could bring in a fish and a species, and we hadn't, you had your pike, pickerel, trout, but not speckled trout,
Right.
Because there is a push, not
Yeah.
by Rob Swainson and the organizations that were trying to promote the fishing of brook trout, but only as a
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay. And so that's basically how we went into the common drum and into the paper, like Matt talks
Right.
about, and how you did it. And actually, the first year we had 400 participants in that fish derby, which was huge. And I'm
Right.
quite sure prior to that, the number was even higher.
I bet.
So, but that did diminish over the years. And
Okay. Okay, Dan.
Okay, so I just had mentioned that there on the first derby there's 400 participants. We also did run the Huck Fin, which is still popular today, and always I think was popular. And when we did it, it ran as a 3-day event. The prizes were always on the 3rd day, but you could enter a fish at any time. And then it changed in format and went to a 1-day event. And then it's also changed the regular derby to a 2-day event and the Huck Finn as 1-day event so that the adults could go fishing more with their children. So, I mean, that part of the derby, I think you always have to have a Huck Finn derby because your participation between the father, the son, the mother, the daughter, and or the whole family event is important. And it's always been pretty good numbers. I don't know what they are today, but
Numbers have gone down to around 60.
60.
We're in the 60 to 70 range constantly every year now.
Yeah.
But it's so great seeing the kids bring their fishing.
Oh, yeah.
They're so proud of this little fish that they caught. And,
But again, the technology, Jack, because they can enter with a picture now.
Yes.
Because your phone is dated,
Yes.
so it even tells that they did catch it
They did
today.
catch a fish.
And
Did you do that last year?
Yes.
You did take, okay.
yes, pictures for the last couple of years.
Yes.
And that's pretty good because that's teaching the kids to catch it, throw it back in again.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
catch and release.
Yeah.
So I think it's exciting for the kids that way too.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we did a salmon derby. We introduced about, I'd say around just after 2000 and 2001 and that. And our salmon derby was $1,000 first prize. And we ran it for about 4 years initially. But the first 3 years, the same guy won the derby with $1,000. So then there was, like anything, suspicion, I guess. So then after, I think the 4 or 5 years, we thought, okay, let's pull it back. Let's rethink this. How do we do it? Because, you know, when you always introduce something new, but then there's always, you have to look at it and probably rejig it to see how you actually do it. Eh? So, and back then the brook trout still wasn't in there. But I have to say that we did introduce the brook trout category again a number of years later just to try it. And we're not sure if it was around the 100th anniversary of Nipigon that we reintroduced it, but it lasted 1 year, I think. Eh,
I
Jack?
think it was the 100th anniversary of the catching of the brook trout. It was the
Yes.
event we held down at the marina.
The Brook Trout Festival.
The brook
The
trout
brook
festival.
trout festival. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
But that year we had we had the brook trout, and we had quite a bit of controversy about it.
Yeah.
So we assured them that it was a 1 year only.
Right.
Yeah.
We got enough species of fish around anyway. People
Yes.
can catch all kinds
Oh, yeah.
of fish without worrying about
So that's why our common trout didn't have the brook trout in it. It
Yeah.
did have lake trout and rainbow trout, but there is even question whether we should keep the rainbow trout in there at one time too, because there are a species that's in jeopardy as well.
And that got eliminated.
Yeah.
It's kind of tough too in a way because you kind of want to promote it for everyone that can even go fish from shore. But I find so I remember when I was a kid working at the weigh-in, people would go up to Lake Nipigon and catch those great big lake trout and then come back and not want them.
Yeah.
So there was so much waste in that. So we're looking at trying to get into more species. You go, well, what makes the most sense? And the first one that jumps out to me that if we're going to introduce is pike.
Yeah.
Not as many regulations around. There are protected slot sizes, but there are a lot of pike now in the Lake Superior area where you can fish from shore or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, and I'd love to get lake trout back in there, but how do you do it without promoting people to go
Far away.
and to just kill the fish
Bring the 30-pound fish in.
and to just throw it out?
Yeah.
Like it's no one wants them. So
But
it's,
last summer, the great grandson of mine, but his friends, they caught those pike down in the lagoon last year.
Right.
They were that long, and they were thrilled. You can catch them off, and they catch them off the docks. The great granddaughters too are catching them down there. So that's exciting.
And-
They don't have to be in a boat.
And to get it's kind of that all. We get a lot of people that come in during the weigh-in. Like we usually do at the curling club. We'll sit and whatever, have a pop and watch.
Yeah.
And to see those great big pike coming out, that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
They look almost like alligators when they get that big.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
that'd be something neat to reintroduce.
Right.
And do that, like where people just want to watch.
Yeah.
Maybe you got one day where big salmon are coming in, because a lot of people come in to watch salmon come in.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about all those fish, they're being eaten.
Yeah.
They're not being thrown out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, we had lots of little incidents in the past, though. And you said about the same person winning
Yeah.
the things, but I can
Yeah.
remember the guy going out in the ditch, and before he put it back in the truck, he tipped it up, and all the rocks fell out of it.
Yeah.
So they're that desperate
that's what
to
you gotta
win,
watch, yeah.
which was sad.
So,
I remember those things.
One nice thing, the local M&R here, I don't think last year they came, but the prior 2 years, they came to kind of do their creel surveying and
Right.
also just to kind of check them out. Then I ran the Lake Helen Fish Derby for 4 years with Tino Awie, and we got it up to a $10,000 prize.
Yeah.
And so that we had to do boat checks in the morning, everything. 'Cause once you get over a certain level,
Right.
I'm sorry, I hate to say this, but people will try to cheat,
Yeah.
especially for $10,000. 1,000, you kind of hope people like, come
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
let's be honest here. We haven't had the same person win it. We've had a lot of people that are all contenders. We've got some people that from Thunder Bay that come down fishing and they'll go out and they'll catch 10, 12 salmon when they go out.
Yeah.
So
So one other thing I just wanted
Yeah,
to touch on is that in 2002,
Okay.
and I think it's something that maybe has to be looked at again, and it's out there. We hired, through a grant, an events coordinator that worked with us for about a year, and he looked at the format of the actual festival, and he made a lot of suggestions that helped us enhance it, like the actual advertising, the format changes to posters, and the brochures that we handed out. He was the one that corporate sponsorship, that there's more corporate sponsorship that you should be going up. And the key, like to us, was, at least when I ran it, and Larry, we had to get the corporate sponsorship request out January, February. Those people are already,
Budget time.
yeah, budget time, and a lot of them actually came back and said we will give to you every second year, so you knew you had to get it out that second year and so on, and he helped promote that. We introduced the daily attendance draws that we have. We only used to have the $1,000 draw on the Monday, and then he was also, which was controversial, we should be charging admin to get into the arena, which we never charged. So I think we tossed it around. It was either $2 or $3.
It was $2.
$2 when we first started, and then it went to $5, and we always. But I think it's important for people to realize that when you, at the end of the day, when you run the actual festival itself, there's a lot of lost leader items that are actually being run there. So you have to pay for them somehow. So, like Jack said, the entertainment on the stage was daily. Some of them we had to pay to come in. We did a talent show on
Monday.
On a Monday,
Children.
on the stage, children's, and then we also brought entertainment into the Legion on a Friday night, and sometimes the admission into that didn't cover the cost. So there, I think that people understand that the admission to get into the arena, the penny auction, the 50-50 ticket now, or the $1,000 draw when I did it, those are the main money makers
Right.
that you actually use to run. And then these organizations are not running the festival just for the good of their health. They want to help out their own organizations that they're with the curling club or the hospital or whoever, or the Elks. And we also provide back into the community. So Jack was saying, I forget the number, but our donations over the years that we are involved in it probably comes close to
$400,000 to $450,000 that
Yeah.
we've given out since
Yeah.
'96.
Yeah.
back in. And I mean, the curling club, the Elks, the hospital, the snowmobile club, the Legion, the Sea Cadets or the Navy League, McGillivray Pipe Band, who have been there forever. I mean, you got to, even them, they would phone and ask. They would phone me and ask, when's the date so I can book it right now. The school breakfast programs, I think
Yep.
those are still supported. There's a bursary at the high school, I think, which is still supported.
Yep.
So there's a lot of money that goes back into organizations within the community that provide services.
Right.
So I think once people get the understanding of it's not just directly to those organizations, it gets spread out within the community and they help those that are in need. I mean, even the food bank, I think, once in a while on request will
Both.
get money. Yes,
Both
Yes.
it was both
Yeah.
banks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not sure where we've gone from there, but it's
Well, one of the things that bothers me about the donations, though, is years ago you made a big deal out of it. The people who got it came and you got a picture of all of the
Yeah.
donors. Now it's one here, it's one there, and they don't get recognized that you've given them any money because people don't seem to want to get together. And I still think it's really important to show the public, wow, here's 12 people that we donated to, and they're in one picture.
Yeah.
And I think that gets across to people more so than just taking a picture of somebody with one donation. It's not the same.
Yeah.
You got to have the impact of seeing where that money goes.
well, initially we actually used to put in the Gazette where our donations went to.
Right.
And I think most people understand that, like the curling club being a major contributor, because I mean, when we first took it over, the curling club had the most members.
Right.
And we were involved, and it was easy. I wouldn't say easy, but it was we could get members to volunteer. So we were involved in the fish derby, the weigh-ins, and I mean part of the fish derby too. Initially, there was a weigh-in,
Yeah.
and that's work.
Yeah.
And then so that's how we ended up going to a common drum, because all you're doing is snipping a fin on a fish, and
Yeah.
and I mean that's how things change, right?
Right.
Volunteers are volunteers, and if you want to overwork them, they don't become volunteers anymore.
No.
Well, when you look at the schedule for a weekend from the 80s to the 2000s now, you just haven't even got the events because we don't have the volunteers.
Right.
Like, I mean, you know how long the horseshoes went?
Yeah,
For a long, long time.
under Jim.
Log
Because
kite contest.
the right person was there and willing to do that one event.
Yes.
Right. So you had to have people who could do one event.
Yeah.
And then that pressure wasn't on a whole lot of people. But yeah, it takes a lot of volunteers to do a lot of events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's too bad it hasn't been passed down generation to generation to be generous with your time. So the one thing that we preach to our members is even just asking for an hour.
Right.
Just all we want is an hour. Just
Right.
give us 1 hour during the weekend, whether it's working at the penny auction, working at the weigh-in. That's it. 1 hour.
Right.
Give 1 hour a year every single member. We're fine for the year.
Well, I still think, I keep saying I'm going to do a story on the CWL. There's still the original booth. They were at the very first fishing festival, and they're still at the fishing festival. They're the one booth that has been there all that time. So you're right. They've passed their volunteering down a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit, but not a lot because they are short of members too.
It's the
Yeah.
between the ages of 20 and 40
Missing.
missing. Yes.
Yeah, and how do you get them back? I just wanted to say too that there are a lot of there are grants out there, that you can apply for, and one of the ones that we got was a $70,000 grant.
Yes,
right,
it was about 72.
72,000, and from that we got
Got a
No,
we
that
got
was a separate
the sound system.
sound system.
And we've added, the Fall Fishing Festival has added somewhat to it. And we also bought tables and chairs for the arena out of that.
Right.
And donated to different things.
Right.
And that sound system has a big impact on any event in the community, because Jack runs it for the Blueberry Blast, or if there's a talent show on, the system goes there. So within the community, that is
Right.
utilized quite well. And Jack and his crew, which is, I was mentioning that this morning in the garage, that Jack has his own team that lots of times they're not part of the festival committee,
Right.
but they're part of making sure that sounds up, like Mike and Norman and guys like
Yes.
that come out and give you a hand. So, I always say, we don't get the volunteers, but somehow volunteers are attached to people. I'm doing this, can you give me a hand? And you know
Right.
what? And sometimes people always say, well, how do you get a volunteer? And I said, first thing you do is that you have a passion. It's no different with them when I was in the curling club. There was curlers that had a passion for curling, and they had a passion for that curling club, and they would do anything to keep that going. So they're your primary volunteers. But then they just go and ask, can you give me 5 minutes of your time?
Right.
Don't ask them to do the major build, because some people shy away from that. Like, Like
And-
Jack didn't really want to be on camera today.
And it's and it's personal contact, James.
Yeah. Because Jack has been, actually, from my time, Jack is probably the longest serving committee member on the Fall Fishing Festival. He's still there today.
Yeah.
And he started probably before I did. And it's funny, it's the people that they're very active because he comes up with a ton of
Right.
great ideas. And
Right.
and like Matt mentioned, the stage. Well, the stage actually came through Jack as well. I was on town council and part of the waterfront development
Right.
grant. There was entertainment, and that stage serves multiple purposes. The Blueberry Blast gets used because it's portable.
Yeah.
And we had talked about a physical, just what do you call it, trailer. Or we're going
right.
to cut the side out and we're going
Right.
to put it down there, and then and then Jack came up with the idea.
Jimmy Nickel offered one.
Yes, to do that.
Right.
It would have been a permanent structure, hard to move, and
Yeah.
so we got that through a grant. And sometimes the events coordinator came through a grant.
Right.
So if you know kind of what you're looking for, you can look for the grants, and they're not there every day, but when they pop up,
Right.
Who did your grants applications back then?
Paul Earl
I'm gonna
did
say
the
Paul
$70,000
Yeah.
one. Yes.
So out of his own time. Then.
yeah, oh yeah, Paul
Oh,
did
that's
a
amazing.
lot of stuff like that promotions. I mean, even when you got into the curling, these provincial playdowns that were hosted here, Paul did a lot of the.
Yeah,
So,
he
yeah.
was big on when we got that Trillium
Yeah.
grant too.
Oh yeah,
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paul loved. I always say he loved doing that, but maybe it's just because we kind of said get Paul to do that because he's good
You'll
at it.
never get him to do it again because it's just so much work.
Yeah.
It's just labor intensive. So many hours. You would know.
I know that, and I've heard even from the recreation. I remember Celeste saying 20 pages for $1,000,
Well,
I did.
and the paperwork is phenomenal.
I probably did 50 pages for 5,000.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
But one thing I find just on the whole volunteer thing is a lot of people, I think the most intimidating part is going to meetings. Because we've had a lot of people that actually have come out and have ideas and said, we'd love to have you. He goes, well, I don't want to go to the meetings. Well, you don't have to.
Yeah.
If you're willing to take on a job, whether you tell someone on the committee what your idea is and they bring it just so we can agree to a schedule. So we do have some new people this year by the thing that they don't want to go to the meetings.
Right.
So
yeah, taking up.
And so we'll pause here, Kristen, and then just bring about the ball tournament. So I just asked James to elaborate too, because the ball tournament is a very big part of the fishing festival as well.
Yeah. So during my period of time, 96 to 16, and Jack had even talked prior to that, because when I got involved, the ball teams were they were switching actually from softball, I guess, over to a slow pitch. But there was people out there that ran the leagues that took that on, still kept that going themselves. They weren't directly attached to the Fall Fishing Festival committee itself, but they were a league, and they would approach us that they're going to run it, or we'd approach them to see if they were going to stab it on the regular Fall Fishing Festival weekend. And Wayne Yanni did it for years, and he worked for OPG, and so he was. It's very nice when you're a chair or something like that, when you just see an organization take on that responsibility.
Don't worry, he had all the campers in his backyard last year.
Oh yeah, we knew that. And then Chum Ruth, I think, took after Wayne, and I'm not really sure if Chum's still doing it. But Jack can talk about the fastball prior to, right?
Well, we had about a 20-team fastball tournament every year. There was always multiple fans. The stands were full. We ran a big beer garden, and the beer garden paid for the league, everything in the league. So you didn't pay to play ball. The umpires and everything were covered. We sold many cases of beer. 180 was the top that I remember. But this
I
is...
think you paid to go and watch for a couple of years too, Jack.
Yes, we
They had a
had...
fence there.
Yes, Al
Right. Yeah.
Al used to charge, and they would pay $2, and he'd just walk around and he'd chase everybody that was coming in.
I used to have Barry Chernaski.
Yes, Barry Chinaski
play
was
by play
a
announcer.
umpire
Yeah.
and announcer. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a kid going to go watch. Remember like the
Yeah.
Z-Birds and different teams.
Yeah.
And I remember one year, I thought it was during the festival, when there was this 3 or 4 man softball team was a really good pitcher. So there weren't a lot of hits because he could blow the ball by them so quickly.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So,
Yeah.
but that it's like every event. I mean, the car show, that came about. They approached us, and that grew for a while. And there was cars coming down from Thunder Bay, and I mean, we had so many antique cars in the parade. I think one year it was the pipe band, and it was a float, and there was a bunch of cars. But I mean, that just attracts people, and I think you have to go with what the people within the community like, because there's a good response to that show. People go to or through there to see what there is. So
And people love the parade, and it's unfortunate that it's dying off a little bit because of the volunteers again.
Yeah.
It's a big thing to do a float
For sure.
for the parade, and it's hard to get.
Expensive as well.
Yeah, you're right. It's costly.
So the staples of this festival are still somewhat there. Parade. I mean, for me as
Yeah.
being a kid, that
Yeah.
kicks everything off.
Yeah.
You've got the parade Saturday at noon. Fishing. There's still the fishing aspect of it. Softball fills up every year.
every year.
So we have 16 teams with 12 people. That brings an extra 200 people
Yeah.
just in ball players.
Yeah.
Now you don't, not to mention their spouses and their kids. So I mean, the whole it's so electric down there. We have the other things that are always like the fundamentals, kids races.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's so many of those different things that are still there. It's a matter of evolving to the times.
Yeah.
So one that's been really, we're going to give it a shot this year, is that cornhole, that beanbag game, of having that tournament.
Yeah.
So there's so many people that play ball, and there's a lot that don't. So there's so many different options to get people active and get them involved. The more people we can attract, the more people that go through the
Maybe
doors.
do that on the tennis court, eh?
We're looking at all different
Yeah.
options. I mean, I'd love to be able to have it in the curling club, or even like on the ice surface, but it'd be tough. There's a lot of planning going into this, but we have someone that wants to run the tournament end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like all those different things that just add more and more.
Right.
Corporate sponsorship.
Yeah.
Big thing. I mean, we rely on that. We wouldn't have a festival if it wasn't for corporate sponsorship.
Yeah.
I mean, or else we'd be really, risking our finances every year.
Yeah.
So we've got, like our local sponsors are amazing. All of our local businesses, the grocery store, hardware store, the gas stations, all these different service providers, even ones that like perform in mining and forestry. Right away, they give the max.
Yeah.
So that gives us the latitude to go out and try all these different things. Because our budget for entertainment's gone up 60% over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So all those different things, and then adding different events, having the dance on one night. The big one last year that went over really well was a trivia night. We had that sponsored,
Yes.
and it filled up. It was a riot. So, like, just all those, you want to hit every single different age group and really social group, and give them all something to come out for.
Yeah.
Having the kids movie out in the field. I remember the first year that we had that, I actually had the canteen still, and I remember going out there and popping popcorn and giving it away to the kids.
Yeah.
Like, it was just that whole come to Nipigon, you're welcome here festival. That's how I see it.
And what is it that Kim Donnelly runs? She runs the
Looney auction.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which has always
another
been
popular.
Sunday night.
Yes, that's very popular.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very popular. So it's, and she's one of those that steps up and she organizes
Yeah.
it with her team, eh? So
Yes.
And that's what you need, I think, to keep the committee can keep the main core going.
Correct.
And then when these individuals pop up with an idea to say, I want to try this, great.
Yeah.
Because as long as you can organize it, the committee kind of crumbles a little bit when somebody comes and gives you an idea, and another one gives you an idea, but there's no body behind the
That's
idea.
right.
So it's your idea, your event, make it work. We'll fit it into the schedule, and that's like Matt says. You don't have to come to a meeting if you're running an
event.
like a toonie or a looney auction or whatever it is. Or if you're running a talent show over there, do it. And if you need the space, we'll provide the space for you, because we used to always rent the Legion. The day after the festival ended, we go on Legion and book the Legion for next
Yeah.
year.
Still the
So
same.
that because they wouldn't rent it out on us. And then sometimes we question, do we just rent it Saturday and Sunday? Or do we rent it Friday night and all that stuff? So we used to go there and rent it. So, you know, it's, I think Matt's hit it on the head. You don't be afraid to come into a meeting. Like our core meetings are normally, Tanker would call the core people that ran like the events, and that would be our meeting. The rest are off to the side.
Right.
Then you just say, who you're running the penny auction, then ask these people.
Right.
And I think that could still work today. But you always have to rethink it. And, like when I got out, I felt already that it was getting stagnant because I was doing the same thing, and I just couldn't see how to make it move differently.
Right.
Well, I think over the last few years, we've seen a bit of a revival, a lot of new faces,
Yes.
a lot of new energy. One thing we did change, we were 3 groups since I've been on the committee, which is I'm thinking around 2017, 2018.
Okay.
And it was the Curling Club, the Legion, and the Elks.
Mhm.
And it was in 2022 we added the golf course.
Okay.
So now the golf course, and they brought in a lot of extra volunteers. They do the bulk of the a lot of the setup, the heavy lifting. For the 2 years around COVID, we operated the beer gardens out of the curling club because of the amendments to the Alcohol Act of being able to have an outdoor patio but still attached to a license. So you didn't have the cost or the liability of having another bar.
Yeah.
So we have these kind of, I guess you could say, quasi-committees that work outside of the Fall Fishing Festival. Ball tournament, perfect example.
Yep.
The beer gardens now is totally separate. We don't want that liability. I mean, everything comes down to now as cost of insurance, liability.
Yeah.
So even for our meetings right now at the beginning, it's all, what's our budget? What are we doing? And then you hand it to the people and make it happen.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you need from us? And we give it to you.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And it seems that the booths are pretty constant too at coming.
Yeah.
Usually lots of them in the arena
Yeah.
still.
I mean, I can remember when we started, we started with Brandon Ford and Spadoni in there. There's car dealerships
Yeah.
in there, right? And
Just think when we started though, we put them all up and took them all down
Oh,
so
yeah.
they could have the dance on Saturday night, and then
Yeah.
Sunday morning everybody put them back
remember
up
the
again.
dance.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking that, can you imagine some of those people
Oh, yeah.
taking them down today and putting them back up? We did that for years.
Yeah.
Years. And-
We lined up at 7:00
yeah.
to get into the dance.
Yeah.
Oh no, I was just showing Kirsten that picture. Everybody's lined up to go to the dance, and that's the year of the bomb scare, and nobody could go in
that's the
Oh.
old arena.
at the old
At the
arena.
old
They had to
arena.
wait outside until the OPP cleared it. That happened to be in with my stuff today, but
And then we didn't mention, but was it 1 year or 2 years we held the fishing festival outside?
outside,
Yes,
yeah.
we-
2 or 3 years,
I
I
remember
guess.
those
I
years.
think, yeah.
Yes.
It was one day
So
arena was
it
condemned and
still went on, even though we had a condemned arena.
Out in the field.
out in the
Yeah.
field.
I remember
Yeah,
that.
but we also used the Elks Hall
Yes.
because that's the year that Princess Di died, and everybody went to the Elks, and that's all they talked about was her.
Okay.
But that they had something booths in the Elks Hall as well. Outside. But I mean, we had outdoor dances a couple of times, Jack,
Oh yeah. Well,
outside
yes.
the Legion, eh?
yeah, we used Zechner's parking lot.
Yeah, I
for-
remember.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
the
When
Legion
I was
and
of
the door
age.
going out, but
We've actually ran 2 dances. We have used to run one at the Elks
Yeah.
Hall and one in the Legion.
yeah.
And this sheet of paper here says this is what we're going to do without the arena, and one was to have a dance in Red Rock as well,
Wow.
Oh, at the wreck.
and 2 over here, so that would accommodate everybody.
Well, one thing about the old arena, the sound system was a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
And if we could find a way of getting we got a great sound system, but the acoustics in
Yeah.
the arena are still.
Well, I think they're trying to get a grant right now. Kristen's been working on it to put something up on
Yeah. Well, we one time on the 50th anniversary, we hung mill felt up in the
remember that.
beams.
We?
there. Yeah, Jack. We got actually a highball.
the. Do you
or
think
something.
it worked?
It did.
It did. It helped. But
It helped.
It could be better, and that's when we had the hot rods playing a dance there. We had actually a dance back in the arena that
The
night.
50th.
The 50th anniversary. Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll say this year, it's 59th this year.
59th.
So we are still evolving a little bit, but I think for us, I mean, long-term thinking 60th. 60th, we'd like to go to something
We want
big.
to have a committee, and we have a meeting coming up, and we're going to discuss that, so that we announce it this year, and hopefully we will get a committee separate that'll run events for the 60th, and try to invite
Yeah.
all the
Right.
people that have moved out of town.
Right.
Because it was very successful on the 50th.
So what year are you? Is next year the 60th?
Next year is
Yeah.
the 60th.
Yeah.
This year's 59. And one tough thing is that we need to grow our numbers, because the one thing that we want to bring back, and especially I think for the 60th, would be the rides.
Right.
And the one thing that we were dealing with the amusement park, the companies, I think it was Canuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't have the numbers, like the amount of foot traffic, so we weren't as as profitable as say going to a different festival.
Oh yeah.
So we need to boost our numbers in order to get that back. And I know even like back when we had it last here for the Fall Fishing Festival, I was the chief of Red Rock back then, and we bought all the passes for all the kids. Just to be able to guarantee a lot of those sales. And I know that the First Nations still, like Red Rock, Flying Post, Rocky Bay, all the neighboring communities, their members all come to it.
Yeah.
So the
So
hardest thing on that is where to put it now.
it has to go in the same spot.
I
But they
know.
went the last time when we had it was still along
On the
that what would that be? I guess the west side of Wadsworth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on the street there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That always made the most sense.
Years and years ago, you wouldn't remember, but when they were talking about building Shalander Court,
Yeah.
Veronica Summerly was so mad because she said, "Where are we going to put the rides for the kids?"
Hmm.
Because we used to use that lawn
Oh,
all the
did
time.
you?
Eh?
Yeah.
And I can remember Veronica being so upset
Yeah.
because it would. But I mean, we've had it in the schoolyards and everywhere else, but it takes a lot of room because they got all those big trailers.
Oh,
these days, eh?
for sure, and
Yeah.
they run. It's a business. You understand because they
Yeah.
come in. It's not only the rides; they bring in food.
Yeah.
So you have to have it really coordinated. Because last year was the most food vendors we've had in a long time.
Yes.
But
Yes.
the only thing was that we lost someone Monday, and last year it was so hot.
Right.
So
Yeah.
every once in a while we get those really hot Labor Days where I think some of the vendors are literally
Yeah.
they're just dying of heat.
Yeah.
See,
And
we-
that's a neat change again, though, too, is having to put them outside because they're a whole different type of food vendor now.
Yeah.
from what they
Yeah, they're
used to be.
contained.
Right.
They're
so
contained
that's-
in themselves.
yeah.
So
Right, there's no food vendors inside besides the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
They're just coffee and pie.
Yeah.
The one
Or ice
there was
cream.
the ice
The
cream.
ice cream.
Yeah.
The Baptist Church, and there was an East Indian group that brought
Oh,
all
right.
theirs cooked, and it was all
Right.
in slow cookers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no active, not like in the old days with
No.
the Grace United Church doing the fish and chips right
Yeah.
inside. Yeah, not
Yeah. It's a whole different ballgame again.
Well, the Anglican Church runs the spaghetti supper.
correct.
Every year.
Offsite.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, outside. So
Yeah.
all kinds of little things like that. And the same with the breakfast. Our church had a breakfast last year.
Yeah, that was
Pancake
great.
breakfast or
Right.
something, yeah.
That was a
So
good addition.
that helps because
Yes.
it's you don't have to be on the committee, just volunteer.
and the curling club had that for
Actually,
for
the
years
ball
when they
the
started.
ball players like somewhere to go
Yeah,
Yeah.
for a breakfast.
right.
Yeah.
That's what you encourage people to do is to take advantage of the spin-offs.
Right.
There's going to be so much foot traffic. I mean, more groups I wish would do it. Like, I mean, whether it's a breakfast, a lunch, they can coordinate those things.
Yeah.
The only thing that I just want to say this on this is that we have to find a better way of getting people to follow the rules a lot better. I know over the past 2 years, the amount of drinking in public is becoming a bit of a
Yeah.
troublesome matter. So I know that's me working with the town and working with the police on finding better ways to police that. Because you want to have it as a fun environment, but also as a child-safe environment.
Right.
And we're starting to get a little close to the wrong side of this.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks, Kristen. Okay, so we've covered quite a bit of information on the festival, and my feeling is the basic thing is it's going to run as long as we got volunteers.
Yes.
as long as we got volunteers that are willing to give their time. And as Matt said, it only has to be an hour here and an hour there. It doesn't have to be the whole
A weekend.
So Matt, maybe you can wrap up a little bit then.
I think, if anything, this festival has always told us the story of Nipigon, as far as I'm considered, of like how all of us, you know, we grew up here, and this was always the end of the summer highlight. I mean, we were always annoyed that we had to go back to school, but we still had this one fun weekend, and it's changed and evolved to the matter of what are the popular fads now, and but the staples, like saying fishing and the car show, the kids races, the dance, like the whole of being in Nipigon and how everyone's treated like it's their home, and so you get hundreds of people coming. So I guess for anything, I mean, for people my age or even the generation next is, this festival can live forever as long as people want to keep this tradition. So, I mean, getting people out that are in their teens or 20s and just, coming out and learning it.
Right.
Because, I mean, I've been fortunate to work alongside the two gentlemen like these two that have done it for decades. I mean, I'm maybe over 10 years in now myself, but we're going to eventually get to a point where we need the new people to start getting involved and getting active. And
So hopefully this is going to get on the TV as well as on YouTube, but you want to refer to the 60 years then?
Absolutely. So next year is the 60th anniversary for the Fall Fishing Festival. 2025.
Okay.
So that's our we only lost the 1 year that we didn't run it, but we're still counting that as whatever it was, the 56th or 55th or whatever it was during COVID. But yeah, we want to make the 60th special. Like, it'd be nice to throw these bigger events every 10 years. So next year for Labor Day weekend in 2025, we're going to be looking for even more people to come out and help, because we want to put on a bigger event.
Right.
And bringing maybe some old ideas back that were done back in the 80s, 90s, so it started in the 90s, to get those different things back, just to kind of bring that nostalgia back, and getting it to those people that are still here, that are in their 80s.
So you're getting
90s.
it out now so people could start to think 60th for decorating a float for the parade, and they're going to know well ahead of time that 60 will be the theme.
Matt, do you think we could sort of incorporate it like a reunion of everybody coming back into town that have been moved away and visit?
It could easily be. I think getting it involved with a lot of different families that have been a part of this, and like for my family, even on the Dupuis side, there's 8 kids. So like a lot of times they try to pick similar times to all come back.
Yes.
And if we could somehow tie it into like how when they had the 100th anniversary for Nipigon, and they had that almost like that reunion dance at the arena where the live bands were playing and it was packed.
Yeah.
And it was all age groups. Yeah. So it'd be nice to kind of get that back and get people interested. So, I mean, if anything, as a message, it doesn't become a form of a reunion. It's a matter of us going back to all of our families and saying, hey, you're planning on making a trip up to Nipigon this summer? You'd probably want to come around Labor Day, because it's going to be a good one.
And that's a big part of the festival. It's just not coming to participate in an event. It's coming to meet old friends.
And
it is a reunion. Well, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Like my kids talk about it. My son came last year. He hadn't been for a year. He's got a new family, and let's go down to the festival. Let's watch the parade, because he remembered doing that as a kid. Eh? So I always remember, and I'm a Red Rock boy initially, but I've lived all my life in Nipigon, and the festival to me is going down and meeting people. Yeah. People walk around the arena to have something and just meet. So meet and greet. It's big. Actually, the 50th, we did have a meet and greet on the Friday night, and it was great. We had a little bar there, and people would come.
I remember that.
And so I just think that people know that that's a big part of the festival, is meeting people that you haven't seen for a few years. And I think, like Matt's saying, for the 60th, if we can just get the volunteers to come and help for an hour, or for coming up with an idea that they would like to put into the festival, those are great ideas just to enhance it and make it more of festival itself. I've always had great ideas too that I like to implement, but sometimes you just get burnt out after a while.
That's right. That's right. Okay, well, thank you very much for sharing all those memories and ideas for the future and keep the fishing festival going.
Yeah.
Okay,
We hope
thank
so.
you.